Namaste and welcome to Nepal Next. Today I have with me a motorcycle auto enthusiast, a gadget freak, an avid traveler, a hopeless optimist, and a work in progress. This is how my guest described himself on his Instagram bio, making it easier for me. It is a pleasure to have the director of Jyoti Group of Companies and the chairman of Shakar Trading Company, Mr. Saurabh Jyoti. Welcome to the show.
Namaste.
So let's start with a topic, Saurabh, that hasn't left us, which is the global pandemic. How did you handle the pandemic or the lockdown personally and professionally?
So I think this is something that no one expected. We never thought that we would be living through a pandemic.
Right.
And it happened. Now, those are circumstances beyond our control. But and we went through a very long lockdown for almost 6 months. But what was in our control was what we did within those 6 months.
Right.
For me personally, those 6 months were one of the most productive periods in my life.
Oh, wow.
Professionally as well as personally. Coming to professionally, when you generally get into office, there are people waiting to meet you, a lot of things are happening, you are firefighting. But this was a time where I could sit with my team, thanks to technology. We had Zoom, we had so many apps, Microsoft Team. So we were coordinating with our teams, and all the work that was pending, the systems that we wanted to implement in the companies wanted to go online on many platforms. We were selling ice cream from online portals, from ice cream even to cars, which we
Right.
wanted to do phase-wise. But this time we sat down and we did it. We went online, we had all our systems in place, we were having regular meetings. So a lot of backlog work and systemization happened. With that, we could take advantage of the situation and we were prepared. Now, if you tell me professionally, from ice cream to motorcycles to automobiles to all our white hat, we have a logistic company, online deliveries, we do online learnings, online trainings, digital marketing. So all that is in place and we are future ready.
Okay.
Thanks to this 6 months. Personally, I had a fantastic time, bonding time with my parents, my wife, and the kids. There's so many things. We used to sing the national anthem over dinner.
Wow.
Because the kids don't know the national anthem. And even for us, we used to know the new national anthem, but word to word for the new national anthem, so now if you tell me, I can sing it.
Okay.
Because we assume we know it, but the word to word and the meaning and everything my father used to explain. Also, we are Newas and Buddhists. So the Panchashil and all our prayers, we used to do it over dinner. So that we had a good family bonding time, and also the kids got to know their grandparents. We spent more time with our parents and the kids and my brother's kids, and we came to know more about our culture also and our religion. So I think that was something really good, and we had exercise time, we had a family bonding time, we were watching movies together. So I think this was a very productive time.
Wow. So overall, the pandemic or the lockdown had been really productive in both the professional as well as the personal front.
Yes, and that is how I think even in the future, when we have time, I would advise all the viewers, to all the people, to utilize the time.
Right.
You have so much time. You are blessed to be with your family.
Indeed.
And you can take up all that time, utilize it to do what you always wanted to do.
Perfect.
You know?
Yes.
And
We always keep saying, if only I had time, I would do so and so, right? So this lockdown gave us all the time in the world,
Yes.
through which we were able to, some of us were able to accomplish a lot. Now, Jyoti Group has a diverse portfolio, and there are varied industries that you personally are a part of in different capacities in the group itself. How hard were those businesses hit by the pandemic?
Personally and professionally, as I said, it was productive. But of course, the economy and our businesses were very hard hit. That we have to admit. But those are circumstances beyond our control.
Right.
That is something no one could do. Not just us, entire economy went down. Now, moving forward, we had certain sectors, the recovery was fast, that was not hit very hard.
Okay.
Then we had in the middle, we had sectors that were hit somewhat, but the recovery could be done within 6 months to a year. And then we had industries that were very hard hit. Now, Jyoti Group, we are into manufacturing, trading, and services. We manufacture steel, we manufacture oxygen, which was very critical during the pandemic. We supply medical oxygen through our 3 oxygen plants, Himal Oxygen, to all the factories. That was running full-fledged to support all the sick patients in the pandemic. We were supplying. That was the essential industry. But the other industries, the construction at that time went down, but is recovering now relatively faster than expected. And in the trading side, we do a lot of agricultural equipments like Massey Ferguson, tractors, farm implements. So those were hit because everything came to a standstill. And of course, the automobiles and electronic division also was shut down, but the recovery is faster. On the services side, we're into hydropower, which is essential, is doing well. We're investing in banks and health sector. We have a hospital. We have investments in hospital and also a hotel. Hospital, everyone thinks did well, but actually hospital is also one of the hard hit sectors because it was focused on the pandemic and not a lot of other operations in the hospital. Even the OT and other services went down drastically. We invested in a hospital, in a hotel, and that is of course the hardest hit, and we feel that the recovery for the tourism sector will take another 2 years. We don't see any recovery even happening in 2021 with the new wave, the second wave coming in. And so the tourism sector, we expect recovery only in late 2022. But when we say tourism sector, what happens is that you say, okay, the hotels are closed. But you see the multiplier effect, from the toilet paper to the toothpaste to the soap to the foods and products to the poultry to the meat products that are supplied, the number of people that are laid off in the tourism industry. Tourism contributes to almost 28 to 30% of the economy in Nepal. So that is severely hit. So I think we need to look at the hard hit sectors and work with the government or lobby to the government to provide certain relief measures to these sectors so that they can bounce back and we can retain a maximum number of employment and try and get the recovery up quicker.
Right.
Because you have a V curve recovery, which we were expecting, but now with the pandemic, now we're going into a U curve. We have to make sure it doesn't go into an extended U curve, which could hit the economy, impact the economy in the long run.
Right.
So that recovery curve we want to focus on. So divided into low hit, medium hit and hard hit areas, we need to focus and work with the government towards recovery of these sectors respectively, depending on the situation.
So that was a beautiful explanation, Saurabh, of all the different businesses under Jyoti Group and the severity of the effect of lockdown or this pandemic. Now, like you mentioned, we're coming to this second wave of the global pandemic all around the world, and it's also entered in Nepal. How prepared do you think the business fraternity is in Nepal for this second wave?
I think not just the business fraternity, because we're business people. The entire Nepal is not prepared. Why I would say that is that, we've always been talking about this, We talk about we need to be self-reliant. We had the huge earthquake. After the earthquake, everyone was panicking. What do we do? What do we do? We need to be self-reliant. We need to promote made in Nepalese products, made in Nepal, products, services. Where is our infrastructure, our health infrastructure, our road infrastructure, our food security, the power that we have, So always we talked about that. Then it went on. We went on talking. Then we went into the Nakabandi.
Yes.
The closure from India,
right,
where we had the border closure. And then again, we started talking about self-reliance.
Being independent.
So again, so no one's walking the talk. It's all our policies. Generally, we have very good policies.
On paper.
I would call it a toothless paper tiger. Very good policies when you read it, but we lack implementation. Right. And now the pandemic hit. And again, we are talking about the same things. But on the brighter side, if you see in terms of power, I was talking about agriculture. I was talking about self-reliance of essential industries. I was talking about infrastructure and agriculture, food security. In the power side, we are doing well. We will have a surplus power now within a few years, so we'll be exporting. So on the power front, we are doing well. It's not all bad. Infrastructure, government is investing. A lot of Melamchi is coming up. The roads are being expanded, not just in Kathmandu, all over Nepal, Pradesh, all broad roads. Asian Highway is going to join us. So I think there is infrastructural development, but I'm just a little concerned personally about the quality of the constructions that are going on, and we need to improve air and surface transportation. That is a lifeline for the economy. Whether you talk about tourism, whether you talk about industry, delivery of service and products, or food service delivery, extremely important. So if we have a proper infrastructure, that is the lifeline of the country, and that will move forward.
So post-pandemic also, do you think these are the sectors that the government and the private communities should focus on to make a strong economy?
I think we have to focus on these sectors. This is how we will be self-reliant. Agriculture now, you're talking about again linking agriculture. Of course, we need to invest in agriculture. We need to have enough food, enough grains, essential. Okay, we don't want exotic fruits. We don't want exotic food items, but basic food, grains, dal, rice, grains, we need to be able to feed the people. Because
Right.
what happens is that, see, a pandemic is affecting globally. When we had the earthquake, we could look to our neighbors to help us, and they would help us.
Correct.
But in a pandemic, everyone is having a
Suffering,
difficulty.
yeah.
And what is the priority? If something happens in your house, you would take care of people in your house. Your family members are a priority. Then you will look after others. Similarly, India, China, they're going through a crisis. So who's going to look after Nepal? The Nepal government, Nepalese themselves need to be able to look after the population of Nepal and our fellow citizens. So in that context, we need to have policies that promote essential industries. We need to have enabling environment for these industries, whether it's the Industrial Enterprise Act, the taxation system, the differential. I mean, right now, if you see the Industrial Enterprise Act, we've always been talking about two-slab differential between importing raw materials and finished products. Raw materials is 5%, finished goods should be 15%. But in some cases, the finished goods are cheaper than raw materials.
Right.
Even the Industrial Enterprise Act says that one slab they've given differential, but that's not enough. Not just that, procurement of land, reaching roads, water, electricity. So there's enabling environment, value addition here for the industries. So the industries, agriculture. And not just that, the infrastructure even for the food is important, because you have grains, you have fruits, but you don't have cold storage, you don't have the transportation or the logistics to reach the products from the farm
To the consumers.
market.
Right.
Not just for food products, for any product or service. So that can be a physical infrastructure, or with the pandemic, what we've learned is that we can go through digital mediums. The logistics can be done, middlemen can be cut, costs can be cut. So through digital marketing, digital mediums, digital logistics services, online deliveries, a lot of things can happen. That is contactless, more efficient, and that is the way to go for the future.
Right. I'm sure personally, on a personal level as well, or on a professional level, Jyoti Group also must have had big plans to do greater things in these past 2 years that were affected by the pandemic. If the pandemic hadn't happened, were there projects in pipelines, or what were the projects, if you could share, in the progress that has been made so far?
So I think a lot of projects are in the pipeline. The pandemic hasn't affected anything in terms of whether we want to make them or not. We will go ahead with the projects, especially food service, trade, and also automobile assembly we are looking at, and also a lot of health services and education. The only thing is that the timeline for finishing completion of the projects has been extended. By 6 months to a year. Now, depending on the situation, is still a dynamic and fluid situation, so we'll see. But it will go forward because there's tremendous potential. And the pandemic actually presents a lot more opportunities. Now it's so easy to even have a meeting, even with the when we're talking about government officials or with our colleagues. There was, even with our colleagues, the older generation colleagues or the government officials also. I mean, there was a reluctance that, how do we have the digital meetings? Everything needs to be very conservative. But now everyone is familiar with tech.
Right.
So that is a blessing in disguise for us. Everyone knows how to use Zoom, laptops, mobile. So we are so much more connected. Even in education now, even if we go for a further pandemic, why are we panicking? If we have the proper infrastructure for IT, where we have Wi-Fi, internet lines in all the VDCs, to all the areas, the best college professors can deliver online courses to every corner of Nepal.
Definitely.
The quality of education can go up. So this is the future that we have seen due to the pandemic. It was coming, the future, but we were delaying it. Okay, let's do this later. But the pandemic forced us in a way as an opportunity to fast track the development and catch the IT wave, the digital economy we are talking about. We have to catch on that wave because we have the young people who are majority of the population. They are very skilled, and this breaks all geographical barriers. And if we are big here, we can go big globally if we can catch on the digital Nepal, even the framework that we're talking about. So the digital Nepal is the way forward, and Nepal can go globally, not like our conservative businesses which
Right.
take 50, 60 years to grow. The younger people with the use of technology can grow 10 times faster in half the time.
Definitely lots of silver linings, I must say, amidst this dark pandemic as well. But so the budget is coming, is being announced in less than a month's time. I already see a different emotion on your face. So even as a business owner, as a Nepali, what are you expecting, if any, from this year's budget? Or if you could even, maybe give a few inputs on how to direct the budget better for immediate relief for the people and the business houses.
The budget is very important for us, but the budget always, the first thing I would say is that no matter what comes out in the budget, uh,
The implementation
part is always lacking.
Right.
Especially with the capital expenditure and the infrastructure. We don't land up spending more than 50%. At any time, it peaks at 50%. So the first thing, personally, I would feel is, or urge the government officials or the government departments, is to actually implement, especially in terms of infrastructure and capital development. Secondly, I think through the FNCCI, which I've been working closely, and I'm executive committee of the Federation of Nepalese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we've been also talking about the VAT, which is 13%. Actually, historically, what happened with the VAT was that when we were in a civil war, we had decided to increase the VAT from 10 to 13% because the government needed increased number of resources through VAT. So the private sector supported, and it went from 10 to 13. Then the civil war went through. And even after the civil war now, it's been how many years now? Over a decade, and it's still 13%. So we are requesting the government to drop the VAT from 13 back to 10%. The reason being is that it was raised for a cause, and that period has passed, number one. Number two, now with the pandemic, everyone is struggling. People are struggling, there are job cuts, economy is suffering. So if the products and services could be cheaper by 3%, there will be an increase in demand. Economic activities will increase overall. So the VAT should be reversed back back to 10%. That is one. Secondly, for MSMEs, which is contributes so much to the economy, they are having a really difficult time. So we need certain policy measures to support for the revival of MSMEs and SMEs,
right.
As well as, again, coming back to the VAT, not all of them are equipped to submit a monthly VAT submission. So that could be done on a 4-monthly or a quarterly basis. We are also looking at what we are talking about now with the budget is also is that the pandemic hit, and we worked on the monetary policies for the relief of certain hard-hit, medium-hit, and low-hit industries for restructuring of the loans. At that period, we were looking at 6 months, and then it went on to a year, which, of course, through the central bank, we did get a very forward-thinking monetary policy, which did give us a lot of relief. But now, the situation is continuing. For another year, we don't see any relief. So we would request the government to support us with the monetary and fiscal policies by further restructuring these loans for another 1 year. Because it is the reality. The industries are suffering. A lot of sectors have not been able to revive. So I think the restructuring of the loans for another year would really help us in terms of getting back up on our feet.
Right. It has been a lovely conversation with you. But as we come towards the end of the program, if I could just ask you to maybe take a moment, if you could just close your eyes, and if you had to envision, without any limitations, without any boundaries, a Nepal that you dream of in the next 10 years, how would that Nepal be?
I think the Nepal that I dream of is a peaceful, prosperous Nepal. A Nepal where every person in the world feels that it is a wish list, a destination that people must come and see. The Everest, our Fewatal Lake, our Rara Lakes, the beautiful terrain that we have, and the people, the friendly people. A clean environment, pristine, clean environment with the cleanest air, on the planet. So environmentally, the natural beauty that we have and the prosperity. So that is a Nepal that I envision, where everyone dreams of coming, visiting at least once in their lifetime. And Nepalese are proud, and we have that level of prosperity where we don't have a reliance on anyone, and we can stand proud as Nepalese on any platform, in any sector, in any field.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely conversation with Mr. Saurabh Jyoti. I am sure this conversation has given you hopes and has enabled you to dream of a better Nepal as well. We'll definitely come back with more interviews, so stay tuned till next week. Take care and bye-bye.